Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome to the G.R.I.N.D. Simon Arias here. Get ready, it's a new day. What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the G.R.I.N.D. And we have my friend and president of American Income and National Income Life Insurance Company, the man, the myth, the legend, Dave Zophin, my dude in the house. What's up, Dave?
How's it going?
It's going great. We're excited to have you on the G.R.I.N.D. Thanks for visiting the Berg today.
Looking forward to it. It's exciting. It's my pleasure to be here.
So we're going to start out. You know, I want to be efficient, with the time. We wanted to come straight out and ask if anybody has any hookups out there with essential water. I feel like we're giving you a lot of plugs out here. I always got the water out. Hey, you want to be our first sponsor? Let me know. Hey, so we'll roll right into it. And Dave, let me ask. How did you get started with American Income? How did you get introduced? And what was it like for you in the first year? Did you have a ton of support from friends, family, stuff like that? And kind of how did that all play out?
Yeah, so I was actually a personal recruit. So my college roommate had been with the company for about 5 years, and we actually kind of took turns every 4 or 5 months visiting each other. It was my turn to go visit him in Florida. He was actually living in Orlando, working for the Mark Zipper agency back then. And it was my turn to go visit him, and we picked me up from the airport. He had just moved into a new home. He was living in a 6,000 square foot house, 4-car garage. It was just stuff that you couldn't fake. And
right out of college?
No, it was about 6 years after school.
Okay.
But it was just stuff that you couldn't fake. It was real. Sometimes people fake it till they make it. This wasn't faking. This was real. And I was actually doing well at the time in what I was doing, but I just wasn't really happy in it. Started asking some questions. Then kind of like the old competitive nature came out. And I figured if he could do it, I could do it too. Asked a few more questions and decided, you know what? I'm all in. I'm gonna take the plunge, if you want to call it, and do it.
Love it. And so when you first started out, I know you'll hear about a lot of folks that start out here with the company, and many of them, but not all, but a lot of the people that start out, maybe they came from a background where they don't all have a college education, or they didn't have a lot of money, growing up, or both parents and stuff like that. But I think your situation was a little bit unique in that your parents, did okay for themselves. They actually helped you get through college. And
yeah, definitely.
I think I remember hearing you say that maybe your dad, maybe was it, or one of your parents was saying, "Hey, when you gonna stop selling insurance in the hood?"
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about that. Because I think a lot of the almost everybody has some of that in the beginning of these types of businesses or our business, if you will. And even for myself, it wasn't my mom directly, but other, people around me and friends and family members and a similar type deal. So, what was that like, that transition? What were some of the things that, that's understandably, what people would say, and how did you overcome those things?
Yeah. So, when I came to the company, I had a couple of different unique circumstances, I think, to the average person that comes to the company. As you alluded to, grew up in, a nice home. My parents did well. They were able to support us, give to school. When I got out of school, got into the restaurant business for a little bit, did well at that, but just realized it wasn't the right long-term solution. And then I got into another sales career, and for the first year and a half, it was tough. I knew I was getting into it. Just it took time to get to the point where you developed your client base, where you were actually making money. And
this is a different company?
Total different company.
Okay.
It was basically selling retail, industrial packaging, and printing.
Okay.
And I really struggled for about a year and a half. Was living off a $400 a week draw check. And when you got rent, utility bills, your car payment, and if you want to eat, there's really no money left over. And really, really, really struggled for about a year and a half. And then finally had developed my client base where I started making money. And for about, that was basically back to 1999, first 9 months of 1999, taking home about $200,000. Was doing well, thought I was doing well. It wasn't really where I wanted to be, but from where I was the previous couple of years, I was doing really well. And then I had that visit to my, my college roommate, and said, what? This is where I want to be. I just felt like this was going to be home. This was my calling to come to American Income. And,
So you left a company where you were making already six figures.
Yeah, I was going to make probably close to 300,000.
Okay.
Back in 1999.
All right.
But I just wasn't happy with it. And I think being happy is really important. Having a sense of purpose and all the things why everyone loves American Income. I didn't get that from my previous career.
Yep.
And so I knew I had to get all my stuff. When I go in, I want to go all in.
Yep.
So I didn't want to wait. So I just figured, what's the fastest way for me to get from Dallas, because I was living in Dallas at the time, to Orlando. And I called a couple friends, said, hey, would you be willing to help me move and drive my car across the country? And I don't know what wasn't appealing about that, but it was pretty hard. So then I moved on to my father, said, hey, I need a favor. I need you to help me move. Well, why would you be moving to Orlando? And I explained to him I was going to work for American Income, and he was my college roommate. And his quote was, are you effing kidding me? You're going to give up what you've already accomplished to selling packaging and go sling insurance in the hood? And I said, listen, the day you cut me off, the day I graduated from college, was the day you eliminated yourself from my choices and decisions. I didn't ask for your commentary. I just said, can you help me move? So, in the beginning it was tough, but, what happened to me is, we've talked about this in the past, for me, there was no choice but success, because I had struggled when I had been on my own, and, I was broke as broke could possibly be. And in my mind, there was no way I was ever going to go back to those days. So my transition to the company was pretty simple. The failure wasn't an option, but I was smart enough to find the best of the best in the agency and take them out to lunch and find out what they were doing. And I knew if this guy was the best at doing that, if I could just do a little bit more than him, then I'd be better
huge.
than him.
I want to stop there for a minute. Two things that stick out to me, and this will relate to many things, not just our company. The first one is and I know how much that you care, respect, value, love. Your dad, I've had the opportunity to meet him before, and so it's not to knock your father, of course.
No.
You wouldn't be where you're at without him. But I do think that a lot of people struggle. I had some people close to me, telling me very similar, things. Not my mom, but people very close to me saying the same things. And if I would have listened, and if you would have listened to your dad, you wouldn't be the president of the company right now.
Way.
Maybe you'd be doing something successful somewhere else, because success leaves clues. But I know I wouldn't be where I'm at. And I'm not, my ego isn't out of whack enough to think that a lot of my blessings would have come if it wasn't for me finding this company. Just like they say, you can't pick your parents, you can't pick your company. A lot of times in the beginning you can't, you can in a sense, but once you're in that company, I feel like I got blessed in many ways just by picking and having, the right company. But I think a lot of kids, coming out of high school, college, you have that loyalty, to your parents, you appreciate them, you value them, and you listen to their opinions, and they've guided you your whole life. And then it comes down to a period of where it's time to start making your own decisions. And I think most people can't do that, what you were able to do, which is tell your dad, I love you, I respect you, I appreciate you. Matter of fact, I need your help, get me across the country, but just back me up because I'm about to make my own decisions here. I think what went on in your mind, in that process, because I know that can't be easy with somebody telling you, why are you leaving a $250,000+ job to start this and not 100% be behind it or understand it, and you say, I'm going to do it anyway. What goes through your mind, and how do you, get through that process?
I think there's a lot of things that come to mind. One, when you don't love what you do, you're working for a check, and it'll limit you on how well you can do, because if you're not truly passionate about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, it's really just a job, no matter how much money you make. But when you love and you feel a calling, you feel like you're really making a difference, and at the same time, the thing that that really, really got me excited about American Income was the only person who would ever get in my way was myself. At the other company, I wanted to get into management, and there were no management opportunities. It was just sales. And I just felt like when I found it that, when I went and visited my friend and met with my first state general agent, Mark Zipper, and found out that, hey, at the end of the day, everything's going to be up to me, and the only person who was ever going to get in my way would be me. To me, that made me really excited, because I believed in myself. And I always knew I wasn't the best, but I always knew I was willing to do more than everyone else. I was willing to do more what the best person in the agency was, no matter whatever the given task was. And I just knew if I could do more than everyone else, there was no doubt I'd be successful.
Yep. So the opportunity for advancement. When you move beyond that, you started talking about, okay, when I first started, I started to take some of the top producers out to lunch. I would spend time with the top people. That sticks out to me. That's something that I did too. What went through your mind? I think a lot of people could learn from that. That we just blow by this part of the segment. People can lose a lot of value in that. What was your thought process, and how did that go in finding the top people? Why did you find the top people? What made you say, let me take them to lunch? How did that whole process go, and what made you think that way?
Yeah, just like we all do today, there was weekly recognition, and then there would be monthly recognition. And I'd write down all the names of the top producers for the week. When it was a monthly meeting, the top producer for the month. And I figured, listen, if there's something they got to be doing right.
You said you were writing it down.
I wrote
so
down
that's the key. So many people, they'll be in these meetings and they don't pay attention or they don't write things down. You heard JB say, note takers are money makers.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so you were taking notes in the meeting, you're writing it down.
Writing down names.
All right.
And then after the meeting, I'd be like, hey, if you were the top producer, hey, would you mind if I took you out to lunch? I want to ask a couple questions, kind of new in the business. I want to, maybe learn from some mistakes you've learned and learn from what you're doing right. And it's funny, back then, no one would turn down a free lunch. It was the best investment you can make. We used to go to a place, you invest like $7-8 in someone's lunch. It's priceless. I wouldn't even eat. All I would sit there and do was a pen and paper. I'd have my set questions. The first time I didn't have my set questions, and I learned. The second time I went to lunch, I had my 10 to 15 questions. They were ready to go. I was firing away questions right now.
So you were ready to go.
Oh, it's 100%
There's another thing. You were coming in fired, with the questions already ready to rock. No matter what business you're out there in right now or what it is that you're doing, are you identifying the top people that are where you want to be and moving your ego aside and reaching out to them and asking them questions and becoming prepared?
Yeah, you can't argue with results.
No doubt.
Like the results are the results. That's the truth. It's kind of like talk is cheap. The results make the real statement at the end of the day. So, if someone's getting consistent results and someone's putting up the results, obviously they're doing something right.
Yep.
And what I would do is take the best of the best from the people I had a chance to sit down with and kind of made it my own. And made it work for me.
Yep.
Because everyone's personality is different. What you might be able to do might really work for you, but my personality might fit. But what I could do is take part of what you do, make it fit for me.
Yep.
That was huge in the beginning.
So started out in Florida.
Started in Florida.
All right. And then how did you move up the ranks and what did that look like for you?
So the company was a lot different back then. Back then, no one really got promoted for about 6 to 9 months. Just the fact there wasn't room. It was a whole different deal back then. For the most part, the company was very restricted on growth because of the lack of resources. And, as the years went by, we got into, child safe and third-party vendors and alternative leads, which has really kind of changed the whole company, where before in the past there was restrictions on how big an office or agency could be, where now it's unlimited. And back then they would just wait because there was only so many people could be in management. But I remember working out a deal with my MGA and my SGA, and basically said in my first full month, if I hit a certain number, they would give me my SA contract. What I didn't find out is the number I agreed to, I overshot myself. No one had ever done 75% of the number I put myself to in a month. So when I said, hey, if I do this, you give me a contract, they were laughing. It was the funniest thing. I'm like, well, what's so funny? I'm like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. If I do 20,000 net ALP in this month, I want my SA contract. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Finally, I had to type it out and make them sign it because I just didn't feel comfortable. What I didn't find out is no one ever wrote more than 15,000 a month in the agency.
Yep. So did you do it?
Oh, I did it.
So you did it.
I didn't even go.
First month.
Yeah, I was supposed to go home for Thanksgiving, my first month.
Way back in 99.
Way back in November of 1999.
Come on. With inflation and all of that, that's probably like, 40 grand.
Yeah, the average
right
sale
now.
was 300.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Back then.
Yep. No doubt. All right. So you move up the ranks and you had success at every level. You had success as an MGA, a lot of success as an MGA, a lot of success as an SGA, and then moved into the president role, within the last few years with the company. As you've been with this company, and I'll mention you've been with the company for 20 years.
It'll be 20 years this October.
20 years next month.
Yep.
So congrats.
Thank you.
On that. A lot of respect for that. Married for how long?
Been married for 16 years.
Been married for 16 years to Christy.
Yep.
And you have how many children?
4.
4 kids, 3 daughters.
3 daughters and a son.
3 daughters and a son. So not only making it happen, in business, but making it happen at home, as a husband and as a father. So congrats on all of that. I know none of it is easy, especially when you put it all together. But what I wanted to pull out is, what have you seen that, because I've been with the company for 14 years, started directly out of college. What have you seen that stands out to you now that is different or better about the company versus, when you started 20 years ago, or when I started, 14 years ago? It'll be 14 years for me in December.
Man, there's a lot of things. One, I'd say compensation. Yeah, the compensation today has never been more rewarding on what you do, at all levels. In the past, when I was an MGA, my MJ bonuses were in the 20,000 range. I was kind of putting the pen to the paper a couple months back. If I was an MJ
month?
today, my bonuses would be probably 80, 90,000 a month.
Yeah.
Which is
quadruple.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
That, not only the compensation, you got better, incentives. There's more, there were no contests back then. We have amazing contests all the time. You have the parent company now is so much more involved and gives so much more support. When I first started, we were owned by Torchmark, who's now Globe, but they were kind of in the back scenes. They didn't get
and recently, Globe just took over the naming rights to the Texas Rangers Stadium.
Yep. So the brand new stadium's being built, $1.4 billion stadium, opening up next March. So it's going to be Globe Life Field for the next, I believe, 39 years.
Beautiful.
And then we just became, about 2 months ago, the official life insurance company of the Dallas Cowboys, too.
Saw that.
It's huge.
Saw that.
They're just really willing to invest into the brand. And I think that's just going to be the beginning of it. They're going to get into a lot more things to get the name out, which only helps us.
That was my biggest fear. I remember coming out my first year and, making $187,000, with this company at 22 years old. Raised by a single mom, my grandma, grandparents pitched in a little bit for me to help out. It was a group effort. Mom had me at 19 years old. And, part of my life, I was, we were on welfare, stood on welfare lines. And I look at, my first year out of college, and I already did what I thought my dream would be maybe by the time I'm 60 years old, to make six figures. And I did it at 22 and 23 by the grace of God and this company and some great mentors. And when I looked at that, my second year, this is going on and, almost doubled that in my second year. And I didn't have a friend in the business. I didn't have, parent or cousin or none of that. Somebody called my resume, Marcus. And all I remember thinking my second year was, I'm scared to death that this is all going to just go away. Is this even real? Is this a real thing? Is this a real company? I mean, how is this even possible? And it wasn't until I met, the folks from the company and Torchmark and saw it myself that I start to believe like, whew, man, the only one that's going to blow this is you, Simon. This is actually a real thing. This is a real company, because my thought process was so small. I didn't know anybody in the world doing stuff like that. Everybody around me was blue collar, and I'm thankful for those relationships in my family that was, they taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to respect people. Taught me the toughness and love and how to stand up for. A lot of my family was in the union. They would stand up for for their brothers in situations like that. So I'm grateful and thankful, but I didn't have anybody out there that was showing me something this big was possible for someone like me. So I was scared to death that this wasn't even a real company.
It's funny.
You know what I mean?
Even with my support system, I had felt the same way. I kept on saying, is this real? Like, how could this be real? Making the kind of money that's being made, have the advancement that's here, being 100% control of your career. I was just waiting for one day for someone to tell me, hey, the joke's on you, this isn't real. Like, I remember going back to my friend who was my my college roommate, who recruited me, like, just tell me the truth, is this real? Like, it just didn't feel real, because to do something that you can kind of like fall in love with and feel really good about, not only are you helping people out in the world that really need help, like, you have that opportunity to be there for families at the most devastating time in their lives when someone passes away, and know that you're there for people. And then the same side, be able to take people that come into the company, like both you and me, where you can bring them in and kind of be their tour guide and show them, hey, this is, not only is this real, but help them develop not only as a person, as a husband or a wife or a significant other, and show them how, listen, if you're willing to do your part, we're going to do our part and show you how to get to this point. And the only person that ever's going to get in your way is that good-looking person that stares you back in the mirror. I mean, to this day, I still have to pinch myself sometimes. It's been 20 years. I'm like, I'm just hoping not to wake up and say, hey, this last 20 years wasn't real, because it just allows you to achieve everything you'd always dream for and much more.
Yeah, I think, part of the things, you're talking about, the money and what the company's been able to do. I think another thing that's impressive, and you could hear about it, but when you really see it, it's special. The company truly, you hear people say that they give back, but everywhere that we go, whether, if it's executive council meetings or SGA meetings or convention, we have something that wherever we go, we make that community a little bit better. Wherever we're at, we're going to leave a piece of ourselves there financially, and we're going to contribute to that area and make it a little bit better. And, that's something that I've grown to love about this company and respect about the company, is that, they're very, very giving from the top down, from the corporate company and Globe Life to American Income separately to the individuals in the company. I could tell you, 5 years ago, it's almost been about 5 years, we started Inspiring Minds, the youth program in my hometown, which was a dream of mine. And when we started that branch of Inspiring Minds, the one thing is an idea, but the second thing, anybody that's ever done a nonprofit, they realize the second thing you need some money. Yeah. And so I didn't know where we were going to do this, how we were going to do this. A lot of it I was going to be able to self-fund due to the company, but the amount of support that I received, the very first thing that we had was unbelievable. The fundraiser that we had the CEO of Torchmark flew in, Mark McAndrew. All of you guys flew in. People were flying in from Florida and all over the country to start this program with me. And, I've seen companies out there where someone will pass away and the whole company can't even raise, $1,000 or a couple $1,000 to help, someone in a time of need. And I got people flying in all over the company, all over the country to help something like this. Even recently, we had someone in the company that developed cancer, and he has children, and he's a husband and a father, and we came together as a group, and none of us had any financial vesting in his life or his career. I've never made a dollar off him, never worked for us, none of that, but just to collectively come together like a team, like a brotherhood, like a sisterhood, like a family. And we were able to raise, I think it was about $30,000, $30,000 for Chris recently. And that's what I respect about the heart and the lifeblood of the company.
Yeah, it's something that totally sets us apart versus the other company. We're legitimately a family. I mean, you said it. We're legitimately a family. Like, we take care of our own. We look out for our own. We want to make sure whether someone has a vested financial interest in someone or not, that you're part of the family. We want to make sure that everyone gets taken care of. And you kind of talked about the program, the Make Tomorrow Better program. Globe Life is just so generous. And the money that they give to council members every year, and that's about to go up. That's going to go up 50% for next year.
Wow.
So each council member is going to get 50% more to donate to charities local to them.
Love it.
They allow Steve and I to have a fund where we can give to, SGAs, some of the things that they're passionate about in their territories, over and above the council donations. And, it's just amazing when people come together, and what they really do.
Something that stands out to me, you were saying about, you when you started out, you found your purpose, and love, for what you were doing in the company. I think that message can be, we could talk about that, elaborate on that more. Because I felt similar, but there was things in the process that I didn't like. There was things in the process that I didn't love, but I still felt a love for this company and for the game. I felt a love for the game. I felt the purpose. I felt the calling. I felt all those things. But there was things in that process that I remember not liking that you needed to fight through and get to. So, why don't you talk about that? How did you, was there anything in the process that you didn't like how do you say, man, I found a purpose and I loved it, but there was probably some things in there that you didn't love. How do you, articulate that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think everyone comes in and there's parts of the process that you just rather not do than do. But at the end of the day, it's easy to overcome those. If you have really clear and precise goals and you understand exactly what you want, not only from American income or national income life, but what you want from your life, what you really learn real quick, that's just part of the process and it's just part of the grind. And you learn to love to do those things because you understand that the quicker you learn to love the things that you don't like to do is the quicker you're going to get on the path to getting your goals. So what happens is, there were certain things, I don't know if you want me to get into the specifics, back when I started, we called resumes at 7 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't really crazy about calling resumes.
Yep.
But I just knew if I wanted to build my team other than, personally recruiting my team, which I did a lot of, and found that was a much better way to build my team than get on the phone and calling strangers. But you still have to do both. We did it. There was times where if you didn't have a good schedule, like I didn't like getting on the phone at 7 in the morning, and calling some, more appointments before we got on the phone and call resumes. But you got to do it. There was times where, we're set, one of the huge changes of the company now versus when I started, the leads were far and few between when I first started. So when I first started, one day you'd be 3 hours south, the next day you'd be 2.5 hours north, then you might be 3 hours west. And, to me, like I never ever cut a day short. Like to me, like, if there was light on, I was knocking on it.
It's hard for me to understand.
I know, I just couldn't do it. Like if I was going to go drive 3.5 hours at 3 hours, there was no way I was not coming home with at least $2,000 of ALP. And that was back when the average sale was 300. Yep. So like, I love doing door knocks because I knew if you got in a door knock, the close was like 90%. But I didn't love doing door knocks like at 9:25 at night because I knew if I got in back when I started, it was a 2-hour process in the home, with that 19-page script. So I knew you're out by 11:30 and you had a 2.5, 3-hour ride home. I wasn't in love with getting home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, knowing that I had to get up at 6.
Then how could you say you loved it?
I loved it because every time I did it got me one step closer to the reason why I really
That's
came
what
here.
I think people need to get.
I mean, it's temporary.
No matter what your business is, I think this is what people need to get.
The grind is temporary. And a lot of people have a hard time convincing themselves, like, you can sell yourself on anything when you want. And that's what I learned. I can sell myself that the grind's not that big of a deal, or I can sit there and stay in bed all day and say, yeah, it's just not worth it. And da-da-da. What everyone needs to understand is no matter what you're doing, the grind is always worth it. If the reward was as high as it is and there wasn't a price to pay,
everybody would be doing it.
Everyone would be doing it. It'd be too good to be true.
That's right.
And what I can promise you is I'm a living testimony. You're a living testimony that there's nothing too good to be true about this. All you got to be willing to do is just pay the price. And I don't think the price is that hard. All of it matters. Once you get going and doing it, then what I found is it's really not that big of a deal. Like the emotional roller coaster of saying, yeah, I want to do it, or I hate doing this, or I don't want to do that, is a lot more taxing than actually doing it. And once you do it, by the time it's over, before you even know it, and you're moving on to that next step in your career.
No doubt. So, now that you've been with the company, you've made a couple moves. How many times have you moved for this company?
For this
got to be 6.
11.
11 times. Okay.
11 times.
So like a coach, and so if you move 11 times.
All 100% on me.
No doubt.
My choice.
And now you travel, as the president of the company, you got to go bounce around to some of the other offices and stuff like that. In your travels and in your 20-year career and stuff like that, what sticks out to you about people that are successful and get the job done versus people that don't? Is there anything that stands out and say, man, it seems like these qualities or these things stand out about the people that make it and the people that don't make it?
I mean, some of it might be just kind of talking about, we talked a little bit earlier, but it's really clear that they have a real true sense of purpose and a true sense of why. Because the why, we talked about this a couple minutes ago, what you want out of life becomes the justification of doing those things that you don't want to do. Some people call the things that they hate to do, but it becomes a justification of doing them. Understand that that's the only difference between where they are and where they want to be. So I would say the successful people have a true sense of why. They have a true sense of purpose. They've figured out exactly what they want from their lives. And when you have that, it's really just a matter of time till you get there. The other thing I found out is that the real successful people do more than everyone else. It kind of goes back in the beginning. It's kind of been like the 20-year case study of when I first started with the company. I figured out who was the best at this and who was the best at that. And I just kind of figured out what they did. And I didn't want to reinvent the book. What I just did was more than what they were doing. So I knew if I did more than what they were doing, I would be able to get more than what they were getting. And it kind of worked, for my whole entire career. Is that, if you're just willing to put in the time, you make the sacrifice, you put in the effort, it's all going to work out. Did we win every day? No. Be sitting in a line, do we win every day? No. But if you make the right choices and you make the right decisions and you hold yourself accountable, that's another thing, is the people that do really well are really good at making choices and decisions. Like, there aren't any stupid mistakes. The only stupid mistake is making the same bad decision over and over again. It's kind of like an insanity and expecting a different result. But if you learn from your mistakes, failures are just, temporary setbacks. They're learning lessons of what you need to do to make the right choices and decisions. But if you can kind of put that all together and hold yourself accountable and, win every day, when you can get in the mindset of winning every day, then you win every week, then you win every month, then you're going to have success. But, people that kind of draw lines in the sand, that'd be another thing. The winners in this company don't have a line in the sand. They don't say, hey, I'm willing to do this, but I'm not willing to do that. You got to be willing to do it all.
Whatever it takes.
You can't take.
People ask me, what does it take? Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
That's it.
What I can promise you is that anyone who's willing to do the things we've been talking about, they won't regret it. I'm a firm believer the only thing you ever regret is not doing it.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. Where do you see this company 10 years from today? What does that look like, in your mind? Where do you see this company 10 years from today? Where do you see our agency 10 years from today?
That's a great question. If we're not doing well over $1 billion and all of us, starting myself, we collectively missed out on a whole. I see us being over $1 billion a year, new sales company. I could see us having 35,000 to 40,000 agents and managers working for this company. I see us having 5 times as many offices as we have today, at least 5 times as many managers. The agency owner part is really going to depend on the people. So I'm not really plugging in an agency owner part, but I just think the infrastructure is there. The time is now. We've proven, we've learned, listen, in this economy today where unemployment's at record lows, we're still growing our company and our agent count and our management count like anyone else in the industry. I just feel like everything's primed for the spot. We're just, looking for people that want to change their lives.
It's ironic you're a Patriots fan. And so what things stick out to you about the multiple time world champion New England Patriots? What things stick out to you about the Patriots that you think coincide or mirror what it takes to be successful in this business or outside of this business? What do you see from Tom Brady that makes him a star that would mirror, these things in our business?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to start with him, he was a student of the game. Like, you can never stop being a student of this game or any game you want to win. The second you stop learning or subjecting yourselves to developing and investing in yourself is the day you start dying. I'm a true believer of that. So to this day, I try to start off every day, listen to books on tape. I want to make sure I practice whatever it is I preach, but you can tell he's always getting better. So when the announcer yesterday in the Patriots game said, Tom Brady is still getting better at the age of 42. It's crazy.
That's got to be intentional.
It's crazy.
Has to be intentional.
It's intentional.
Yep.
A lot of it's, everything rises and falls on leadership. There's no question or there's no mystery about it. Belichick's an amazing leader. And in this business, if you really want to grow, you've got to be a great leader. You got to be investing in yourself as a leader, not only in sales, but like Brady is the quarterback, if you want to equate that to sales, but you got to invest in yourself as leadership. You can't be stagnant. He's always trying to, learn and develop and stay ahead. He's proactive, in his coaching style, and he's proactive in what everyone else is doing in the league. And someone here has to be really proactive too. I'm a firm believer if you're always reacting, you're always a step or two behind them, and you can never get ahead. The other part is they've proven that systems and structure works, which is like American Income. You need really good systems and structure. They are able to take players that people like kind of cut, but they're able to take players that don't get drafted. Every year, they have at least someone stand out, make massive contributions of an undrafted free agent. They're able to take players that get cut, whether it's, before the 53-man roster gets out, or they're getting people that get cut because, they're casualties of salary caps, or they're able to get people kind of towards the twilight of their career where one team wants to give up on them, and they're able to put them in and plug them in the system and able to win with that. But they also win with people that are versatile. And to be really successful in this company, you got to be versatile. You can't just be a one-trick pony. You got to be, if you want to be in leadership, you got to be really good at all the core parts of leadership, whether it's, leading other people, whether it's recruiting, whether it's training. You have to be good at all that. And I think there's so many similarities between what the Patriots do, and a lot of people don't like to hear about that. But I mean, if you're not going to study them, you're kind of missing out on the whole really great history lesson.
No doubt. I would, I would couple that and say, do you remember when one of the last few Super Bowls they won? I can't remember which one, but I remember seeing a parade and one of those interviews, and a couple people get to speak, and Belichick got up there and he had a chance to speak, and he chanted 3 words: no days off. No days off. No days off. So this man, I don't know how old he is, but he got to be
60.
Yeah, I was going to
67.
Okay, so he's 67, and I think part of the reason why he's great is because he came through Youngstown. He came through. He was in Struthers outside of Youngstown as a young lad, but he was chanting no days off. So you would think 60-some years old, multiple time Super Bowl winner. Got the best quarterback, in my opinion, the best quarterback to ever play the game. Multiple, things that he's accomplished. First ballot Hall of Famer. And the first thing on his mind is no days off. No days off. Going back to we got to go back to the grind. And I think those are things when you watch Brady in the offseason, getting with his receivers and going off to different places where they'll bond and keep. I just think they beat people in the mindset, and they beat people with work ethic. And I think people underestimate what it takes to be great. I think if you want to be great, you need to be obsessed. And people shy away from that. You show me somebody that's great, show me an Olympic champion, show me a champion at anything, and I'm going to show you somebody that is obsessed. And a lot of the world will tell you that you're wrong if you're obsessed, because weak people have been, or other people they're listening to, versus finding solutions to what it is that they want to be great at. No one says that you can't be great at all, all things, that you can be great in business, and you could be great as a parent, and you could be great as a husband. These are just specifically to me things that I'm trying to pursue greatness at. I want to be great, and I'm obsessed with our business. I think about it every day. I do it every day, regardless of where I'm at. I'm getting better. I'm in books, leadership books. I don't think I'm good enough currently right now to do the things that I want to do with this company, even if people can point to numbers that, haven't been done much before. I'm obsessed with trying to be a great dad. Every week I'm looking at my schedule and making sure that I got time in, with the kids, and I'm putting time into them. I want to be great as a husband. And I think that people think that other people have told them that you can't be obsessed in this or that and still win in those areas. And so they start to beat themselves mentally. The mind is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. And whatever you start to think up in your mind starts to become your reality, and is what happens with your life and in your body. And so if you start to write yourself off and say, man, I sure would love to pursue this dream, but I want to be a good dad. Or I sure would love to pursue this dream, but I got to be, I'd like to be a good wife, or I'd like to be a good mom. You start to beat yourself with the thoughts that you're giving yourself that are false and not true. So I'd like to just encourage people out there. I'm telling you one thing that you, me, nobody else can help. If you plan to do anything great, you have to get obsessed and stay obsessed.
Well, you just said,
period.
You got to plan. Like, you can be a great in the business. You can be a great significant other.
Schedule it.
You can be a great parent. But if you don't have a plan for it, then you're not going to do it. And you said something else kind of triggered a thought. A lot of times people use things in their lives as the excuse of why they can't do it. No doubt. But it should be the opposite. They should want to figure out a way to do it because of that. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I just can't do it because I got to do this for my kids. No, you should want to do this for your kids to be able to provide a better lifestyle for your kids. And provide a better lifestyle for your family. Amen. A lot of this comes down to, it's kind of like, I know it probably drives a lot of people crazy. I'm just happy it's my team. But,
I respect the shit out of them.
And if, and if it wasn't my team.
I love watching it, and I respect the shit. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. But I respect that organization and Bill and Tom. And I just respect it so much because I'm a student of success. And I have such admiration. I know what it takes to play at that level. But what I respect and appreciate the most is I know what it takes to stay at that level.
It's hard. It's harder to stay at the top than it is to get to the top.
Oh my God!
But I was gonna say, if I didn't grow up one town over from where the stadium is, I'm a legit grew up one town over.
Yep.
I'd be a student of them as well. And what they've shown is you don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the tallest. But what you got to do, and I believe it's quintessential to having success here too, you've got to have it in here and you've got to have it up here. Like, this is a lot more important than this. You need
Heart
to have
set, mindset, more important than skill set.
Because I can convince myself of anything I want to do, and I convince myself of anything I don't want to do or don't need to do. And at the end of the day, it's just people just use the things like we just talked about as a reason why they can't do it instead of using it the reason why they need to do it. And if everyone just sat there and became a student and applied themselves and just didn't quit and to just figure out, why they really want to have the things they want to do, it'll give you the perseverance to fight through the tough times.
Talk about not quitting. Maybe we'll start to wrap it up on this. Regardless of the industry, I keep saying that because I want this to add value to anybody in any field. But I think I've seen so many people that should be great in this business or in life or business in general, and they quit too easily. They give up too easily. When I look at the history of, Rick Altig always reminds me, man, it took me 20 years to get to $1 million or something, he said, in a year. 20 years to get to $1 million a year. We've put up $1 million weeks, and he seems, so far, out there for me and for others. People forget that happened. And I look at Zach, Zach Hart. He's had a successful career here. I think he'll tell you in his first 6 months, it was a monthly bonus back then.
Yep.
I think he only bonused one time or something in his first 6 months, with the company, early 19, 20 years old. Where would he be, and his family be?
If he quit.
If he would have quit. Where would Altig be in this company be if he would have quit? And so, much like, I was thinking about what my dad told me, where you sell nights and weekends in the hood. Shoe Dog, a book that I like by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. His dad told him, when are you going to stop selling shoes out of the trunk of your car? Now the company's worth over $50 billion. What advice would you give to an agent here in their first 6 months? As they're trying to get to where they want to be. And I'm not talking about the ones that just, no matter what, there's just a certain amount of people that just don't got it. You know what I mean? If there's 100 people, there's going to be 10, 20 people that just don't got it.
Yeah, they don't got it.
But I think more people have it than don't have it that I see. But they quit too soon. So what would you say to that, agent in their first 6 months, that to encourage them, or advice that you would give them, seeing the people that have made it and seeing where everybody came from, that would maybe help them in a point where maybe they feel like they're breaking down? Because I think there's points where there's these turning points in careers and lives that really make a difference. The V in the road, if you will. Adversity causes some people to break and other people to break records. You know what I mean? Those breaking points. What advice would you give?
I'll share what I told myself. When I first started, I told myself, I'm going to give this everything I got. I'm not even going to think about if I made the right choice or not for a year and a half. That's the deal I made. The deal I made with myself is I'm going to give this all I got for a year and a half. And at a year and a half, then I'll step back and I'll take a day to reevaluate and see if I made the right choice or decision. And I think for a brand new agent, I think it's easier. They could say, hey, they're watching this tape, they're a brand new agent or someone new in their craft or trade, even if it wasn't here. And they'll probably say it's, bless you, think they'd probably say it's easy for you to say because you've achieved what you've achieved, like amazing success with the company. And I know you're not happy about it and you haven't even scratched the surface. And I think it's probably easy for them to say, hey, you've done what you've done. You've been at the company 20 years as well. And now you're the president. But what I can tell you is that if you make a deal and a commitment with yourself and say, hey, I'm going to give this at least a year. I don't even think 6 months is enough time. But if the people would make a pledge with themselves and say, hey, I am going to give this a year of everything I got, and not even one time will I either contemplate the thought of quitting, I think so many more people would make it.
I agree.
And that's the deal I made with myself. I just said, there's no talking about quit. No matter how late it was when I got home, no matter how hard it was, I could tell stories for days, no matter how many times I got lost or, I had this jinxed Cherokee, I had a brand new Grand Cherokee Limited, freaking thing was jinxed. The rear passenger tire blew out 11 times. It was crazy. And when I'm on the highway and it's 95 degrees out and, back then we used to wear a shirt and tie in the field, not like today. And you're sitting there like shirt and tie. God, I can't believe I got to change my tire because, roadside assistance took like 3 hours to get there and I couldn't miss an appointment. You get out there and it's like, what? You can take off you can take off your shirt because you're going to sweat through it. And then you got to go find a hotel lobby to go get into and get in the bathroom and clean off. You got to do what you got to do. But not once did I ever say, gosh, I guess someone was not wanting to make it. I just felt like there's no matter what, I'm never going to have that discussion with myself. And if you can make that commitment, it's a lot easier. And you never find yourself even having the conversation, hey, did I make the right choice? Because then undoubtedly you did make the right choice.
Yeah. So what's your daughter's name that likes the Browns?
Taylor, I just want to shout you out and say your husband is getting really lucky. Whoever ends up finding you is finding an amazing person and a loyal woman, because you grow up and I know you root for the Patriots too, but when you grow up in a house full of Pats fans and you somehow end up with the Browns, that tells me you got a heart of gold and you're super, super loyal and you have great taste, my girl. Okay, stick with it. One day is going to be our day. Maybe another 20 years, but it's going to be our day someday. And Dave, I'll just tell everybody, the listeners, you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody that's a better person and a better man, than I've seen in Dave and knowing you for as long as I've known you, and makes me feel comfortable and sleep well at night. About knowing that the company's in your hands and Steve's hands. Two great people and great men,
and your work ethic is impeccable. You know, there's not many people. I think you're working harder, and it's just who you are. It's your work ethic is as hard as some of our field trainers. You know, agents, SAs, GAs. You know, you're just constantly on the grind, and that's something that I respect about you a lot. Not just your character and integrity and the person that you are, but just that work ethic and competitive nature and drive that you got, man. I really admire that about you, and I appreciate you making the trip to Pittsburgh to come see us. So
I appreciate that too, and I know Steve and I feel the exact same way about you. You know, I sleep a little bit better at night knowing that we have you on our team and you as an agent owner with your goals and your vision. You know, it just makes it a little bit more settling for us to know that, hey, we're going to take this company to $1 billion. I wish we had a few more of you, but not to take anything away from anyone else. But I know we sleep better at night knowing that, you know, you're an SGA, you know, agency owner with the company, and with your goals and visions, there's no doubt that you're going to achieve everything you want to and more. And it's just a true testament to who you are too.
I got the best team that I've ever had. God bless me right now with a field of just animals and superstars, and so God willing, the best is yet to come.
Yeah, your team's on fire. Great people.
Yep, staying that way too. So, Dave, thanks for joining us, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. If you found any value in this, please share it with others so we can impact our piece of the world. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Grindcast. Get ready, it's a new day.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast, bud.